Stop the madness. Right now, you are about to walk into a financial slaughterhouse and you don't even know you're the cattle. You think buying a home is the American dream. In 2026, in 5 specific states, that dream is going to become a foreclosure nightmare that destroys your net worth. We are looking at a correction that will make 2008 look like a tea party. The data is screaming sell, but you're out there listening to some broke real estate agent telling you home prices only go up. That is a lie. I'm going to show you exactly where the equity is going to. 0. If you live in these states, or worse, if you're thinking of buying in these states, you are setting money on fire. Do not be a bozo. Listen to me or stay poor. I didn't get here by being nice. I got here by understanding one thing. Money is my soldier. I send it out to war every morning and I expect it to come back with prisoners. I started in a basement and built a multi-million-dollar empire because I understand value. I don't speculate. I don't hope. I look at the numbers. When I invest, I demand cash flow. I demand return on capital. If an asset doesn't pay me to own it, I take it behind the barn and I shoot it. I've navigated every crash since the 80s and came out richer every single time. Now I'm giving you the map. Here is the reality check. The information I'm about to give you costs people thousands of dollars in seminars. I am giving it to you for free. But I have a condition. You need to subscribe to Abstract Wealth right now. If you enjoy being mediocre, if you enjoy living paycheck to paycheck and complaining about the economy, click away. Go watch a cat video. But if you want the cold, hard blueprint to financial freedom, if you want to think like a shark, hit that subscribe button. Do it now. Don't be the person who looks back in 5 years and says, I should have listened. Subscribe. Let's make some money. Let's start with a big one. The Golden State, or as I call it, the Go Broke State, California. If you are buying real estate in California in 2026, you are out of your mind. You are mathematically illiterate. Let's break down why this is a catastrophic investment. The poor person's mentality. The average person buys here because of the weather or the prestige. They say, oh, but Kevin, it's Los Angeles. It's San Francisco. Real estate always appreciates there. They fall in love with the ocean view and ignore the fact that the state government is actively trying to confiscate their wealth. They buy with emotion. They buy a $2 million shack because they want to feel like a movie star. The rich reality, how I see it, I look at California and I see a business environment that is hostile to capital. The smart money, Elon, the tech giants, the sharks, we have already left. We are gone. When the capital leaves, the tax base collapses. When the tax base collapses, services degrade, crime goes up, and property values crater. It is impossible to build there. The regulatory environment adds 40% to the cost of construction. You have squatters' rights laws that let people live in your house rent-free for months. Why would I deploy a single dollar of my soldiers into a war zone where the general, the governor hates them? The mathematical reality. Let's look at the cap rate, capitalization rate. In a healthy market, you want a 6% to 8% return on your money from rent. In Los Angeles, after you pay the insane property taxes, the mansion tax, the insurance premiums, which have tripled because of fire risk, and the maintenance, you are lucky to get a 2% return. The math, you buy a house for $2 million. You put $400,000 down, 20%. Your mortgage at 6.5% is roughly $10,000 a month. Property taxes are another $2,000 a month. Insurance is $1,000. You are bleeding $13,000 a month just to own the roof over your head. Can you rent it for $13,000? No. The market rent is maybe $8,000. You are losing $5,000 a month. That is $60,000 a year of negative cash flow. That is not investing. That is charity. You are subsidizing a tenant to live in your asset. It is madness. In 2026, as the tech exodus accelerates, that $2 million house is going to be bidding at $1.50 million. You just wiped out your entire down payment. You are at zero. Stay away from California. Next up, New York, specifically New York City and the surrounding suburbs. I love New York. I really do. But as an investor, it's dead to me. It's a cockroach motel for capital. Money check, K's in, but it doesn't check out. The poor person's mentality. People buy in New York because of the hustle. They think owning a condo in Manhattan is the ultimate status symbol. They scrape together every penny, borrow from their parents, and leverage themselves to the eyeballs to buy a 600 FT shoebox for $1.2 million. They think I'll never lose money in NYC. The rich reality, how I see it. Here is the problem. Commercial real estate. New York City is built on office buildings. Those buildings are empty. Remote work is not a fad. It is a permanent shift in the economy. When those office buildings default on their loans in 2026, and they will, the tax revenue for the city evaporates. Who is going to make up the difference? You, the homeowner. Property taxes in New York are going to skyrocket to cover the deficit, the mathematical reality. Let's talk about the carry cost. In NYC, you have something called common charges or HOA fees. In a luxury building, these can be $3,000 to $5,000 a month. That money is gone. It builds no equity. Plus, New York has a litigious culture. Rent control laws make it impossible to be a landlord. If you buy a multi-family unit, you cannot raise rents to match inflation, but your expenses, heating, taxes, repairs are going up by 20% a year. The math. You buy an investment property for $1 million. You collect $4,000 in rent. Your mortgage is $5,000. Your HOA is $2,500. Your taxes are $1,000. You are losing $3,500 every single month. But Kevin, appreciation, what appreciation? Who is going to buy it from you? The bankers are moving to Florida. The hedge funds are moving to Tennessee. You are buying a falling knife. In 2026, we are going to see a liquidity crisis in the New York residential market caused by the commercial collapse. The banks will stop lending. If you can't get a loan, you can't sell your house. You are trapped. It's a loser's game. Number 3, Illinois, specifically Chicago. I forbid you to buy real estate here. I absolutely forbid it. The poor person's mentality. Look, Kevin, I can get a beautiful historic brick house in Chicago for $400,000. It's so cheap compared to Miami. There is a reason it is cheap. The market is efficient. The market knows something you don't. The market knows that house is actually a liability disguised as an asset. The rich reality, how I see it, Illinois is insolvent. They have the worst pension debt crisis in the history of the United States. They have promised billions of dollars to retired government workers that they do not have. How will they pay for it? They are going to come for your property. Property taxes in Illinois are effectively a wealth confiscation tax. In some counties, you are paying 3% or 4% of the home's value every year. The mathematical reality, let's run the numbers on cheap. You buy that $400,000 house. Your property tax bill is $12,000 a year. That is $1,000 a month just for the privilege of the government not taking your house. Over 30 years, you will pay $360,000 in taxes, almost the entire value of the home again. And that's assuming taxes don't go up. But they will go up because the population is leaving. When people leave, the people who stay have to pay more. It is a death spiral. The math, compare this to a state like Tennessee or Florida, where there is no state income tax and reasonable property tax. If you put $400,000 into the S&P 500 or a dividend-paying stock portfolio yielding 7% like I do with OS shares, you are making $28,000 a year in passive income. In Illinois, that same $400,000 is costing you $12,000 a year in taxes plus maintenance. The opportunity cost is massive. You are losing the $28,000 you could have made plus the $12,000 you are paying. That is a $40,000 swing in your net worth every year. Do not buy a liability in Illinois. Rent if you must, live there but do not own. State number 4, New Jersey. New Jersey is like Illinois, little brother, but somehow even more expensive. It consistently ranks as having the highest property taxes in the entire country. The poor person's mentality. People move to New Jersey to work in New York, but have a backyard. They want good schools. They pay a premium for a town with a nice name. They don't read the town budget. They don't look at the unfunded liabilities of the local municipality. The rich reality, how I see it, I look at return on equity row. If you buy a home in New Jersey, your equity is being eaten alive by friction costs. Foreclosures in New Jersey take years to process, which messes up the inventory. But the real killer is the exit tax. When you try to leave New Jersey, they hit you with fees. They tax you when you earn. They tax you when you spend. They tax you when you own, and they tax you when you die. The mathematical reality. Let's talk about how I see so many families in New Jersey making $200,000 a year, which sounds like a lot. But after federal tax, state tax, and $25,000 a year in property tax, they have no liquidity. They have zero free cash flow to invest in the market. Their entire net worth is tied up in a house that is barely appreciating because the taxes are suppressing the value. The math, if property taxes are $25,000 a year, that is equivalent to servicing a $400,000 mortgage at 6%. That means the tax burden alone reduces the purchasing power of the next buyer by $400,000. As interest rates stay higher for longer, and they will, buyers in 2026 will not be able to afford the price, and the tax prices in high T states like New Jersey have to come down to compensate for the monthly payment. Shock. You are going to see a 1,520% correction in these high tax suburbs. If you own there, sell. If you don't, stay away. Finally, number 5, Massachusetts, specifically the Boston area, tax Massachusetts. It's a nickname for a reason, the poor person's mentality. But Kevin, Boston has biotech, it has Harvard, it's recession-proof. Nothing is recession-proof. Massachusetts recently passed a millionaire's tax, an extra tax on high earners. You might say, I'm not a millionaire, Kevin. I don't care. You should care because the people who buy your expensive house are millionaires and they are leaving. The rich reality, how I see it, capital is a coward. I say this all the time. Capital is afraid. It runs away from taxes. When you penalize success, the successful people move to New Hampshire or Florida. When the high earners leave, the luxury real estate market collapses. When the top of the market collapses, it pushes down the middle of the market. It's a domino effect. The mathematical reality, let's look at the price to rent ratio. In Boston, this ratio is absurdly high. It creates a ceiling on how much higher prices can go. To buy a decent condo in Boston, you are paying $1,000 per square foot. The rent you can collect is maybe $4 or $5 per square foot. The yield is non-existent. The math. You are buying an asset at a 3% cap rate in a world where you can get 5% risk-free in a treasury bill. Why would you take on the risk of toilets breaking, tenants suing you, and roofs leaking for a 3% return when you can sit on the beach and make 5% from the government? It makes no sense. The smart money is rotating out of low-yield real estate and into high-yield fixed income. When this rotation hits full speed in 2026, liquidity in the Massachusetts housing market will dry up. You will list your house and it will sit there for 100 days, then 200 days, then you will panic sell. D. Don't be that person. Here is the bottom line. There are states that treat money like a respected guest, and there are states that treat money like a prisoner. California, New York, Illinois, New Jersey, Massachusetts. These are prison camps for your capital. In 2026, the music is going to stop. The easy money is gone. The Federal Reserve isn't coming to save you. If you want to get rich, you need to be mobile. You need to be fluid. You need to rent where you live and invest where the numbers make sense. Do not let emotion dictate your financial future. Be ruthless. Be disciplined. And if you want to survive